Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today I'm working on my straight edge castings. We had previously in a recent video did the rough milling on these to get them machined on surfaces. This is coming up for a scraping class that I'm going to be offering here in my shop. In a couple of weeks, I need some straight edges that will be used as a project for the class. And as a result, I'm having to machine some straight edges. Now, we took everything over to the milling machine and pretty much machined all the surfaces. But to do a little bit better job and to make the scraping go a little bit easier, I'm going to go a little farther step and we're going to go over to the surface grinder and actually grind all of these surfaces as well. The idea here being, yes, they were rough milled. Yes, they should be pretty flat, but the simple truth of the matter is that we took a lot of metal off of these castings. These castings do have internal stresses in them. Anytime you remove metal from a casting, it's going to move a little bit. So even though we've machined all these surfaces, they're probably not as flat as would be ideal for scraping in. Taking them one step farther and just kind of kissing them up, getting those surfaces nice and ground, we should be really flat even before we start scraping, which just makes the whole scraping job a whole lot easier. These castings are pretty stable. I have found the ones that I've been using now for a couple of years that once you get them scraped in, they stay pretty true. Our castings they do go through a heat treat process, a normalization or a stress relief program after they are cast. That gets a lot, if not most, of the internal stresses out of these castings. Back in the old days, they used to let castings sit for at least a year before they were be machined and used, just to kind of let stresses kind of have a chance to work themselves out. With the modern technology, these heat treat programs that they've come up with, they've really figured out that they can do that, speed that process up a lot faster using the heat treat process. And again, I've had very good success with that. So anyway, today's project, we're going to be over here on the surface grinder. Just kind of give you an idea of what we're going to do. I will start by machining or grinding the top of these. They've already been machined on the top. I will kiss those first. We'll set them down on the bottom. We'll kiss the top. That should make the top more or less parallel to the bottom. And then we will flip these over. I'll block these up on the sides so that they're stable. We'll mag these down on that top, and then we will grind the bottom of the straight edge, which is the most important surface. And then we will also put these in a 45-degree V block and machine the 45-degree angle. So 3 surfaces are going to be ground. Really, the top surface is not a surface that will be used on the straight edge, but it will be used for kind of indexing this bottom end. So it is going to be important to do that. Let's go over here and do some grinding, get these things knocked out. So we're going to be doing our grinding today using my Thompson surface grinder. This is a pretty good sized surface grinder. They make them a lot bigger, but most surface grinders are much smaller. This one has a mag chuck on it. It's 30 inches long, 12 inches wide. That's the usable surface on here, which gives me plenty of room to do what we're going to be doing. I did go through this machine when I got it. We cleaned it up, repainted it. I did take the table off, re-scrape the ways. It does a really nice job. I will note that the goal today is to get these surfaces flat. I'm not going to great lengths to get a super mirror finish on it or anything like that like you do with some grinding, because the surfaces that we're going to be doing will be scraped. So the grinding is all going to go away. There'll be none of it left. But my goal here is just to get it as flat within reason, and then we'll scrape it in the rest of the way. So again, not going for a super fine finish, just going for a flat surface, or fairly flat anyway, in surface grinding world. Let's get in here and get going. So we'll come in here first and just kind of clean the chuck up. I'm going to put my straight edge down on here, and we'll go ahead and turn the mag on. Yes, I got that securely attached. Let me fire up my machine. there on an automatic cycle. I'm going to go ahead and dress this wheel. I've got a wheel dresser built into the machine, so as it's going back and forth, I'm just dressing that wheel a little bit. A little bit more. All right, we got a good grind on there. I'm going to stop the wheel moving back and forth right there over the top of the straight edge. We got a cycle here. And I need to just lower my wheel down and touch off here. Just starting to touch off there. And I'm just going to go back and forth a couple of times until we get a good grind on there. We'll let that spark out just a little bit. It's pretty well cleaned up. I just want to, this top surface doesn't get straight, so I do want a decent grind on it. All right, we're going to stop right there. I'm going to loosen up the table here, release the mag. Pull that off, we'll get the next one. Now let's clean our table up here. I just got a little squeegee I use for this. I'll put my next straight edge on here. Mag it down, and I'm going to have to go up a little bit to get clearance there. And we got number 2 ready to go here. Got that one done. Got all my tops ground now, and up next we're going to be working on getting the bottom ground. And to do this, we got to flip it up like such, and to kind of, my idea here is that we're going to sit on that ground surface that we ground before. It's a pretty small footprint, so to kind of give this some extra support, I've got some magnetic transfer blocks. These blocks actually are strips of steel, and in this case brass, and what this allows is the magnetic flux to kind of go through this bar. So I turn my mag on, it'll be magnetic all over these different surfaces. So I will put those behind it, and I'll just kind of put my straight edge straight up against it, and then I'll also come in here and put some on either side like such. And that should be sitting pretty flat. I turn my magnet on, and that's very solid now. I can come in here and grind this bottom. I will note that it's not critical that the top and bottom be parallel to one another. We ground that to make this side easier, so I just want to get a flat surface. That's all I'm after here. So we're going to come in here and touch off on this, and hopefully, because we ground the other side to this side, it should be pretty flat unless we're sitting a little bit crooked or something, but regardless, we're just going to get it cleaned up. It should be close. We're going to get it cleaned up, and we're going to do each one of them this way. So let's go ahead and I'll tell you what, I need to probably redress my wheel. I'll get the machine fired back up, and then we'll start grinding. Getting my wheel travel, my stop set on that. Now I'm going to get my table travel set. I need to extend it out a little bit on both sides. All right, I think I got my stop set. Now I need to start lowering the wheel down. We'll just start making contact. We're just making contact. Change my wheel to where it just moves over a little bit at a time. So right now we're touching up here on the front, but not on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and down feed just about a thou or two, and we will do that till we get the bottom cleaned up. All right, we'll pull this one out and get the next one in. Well, we got all the bottoms done now, so the top and the bottoms have been ground, and we're ready to move on. The next step here is going to be the 45. Now, I finished these up yesterday afternoon. It was about quitting time, so I went ahead and shut down for the day. Coming back in the next morning, and we're getting ready to start back up the machine over here. So let me show you how we're going to do this 45-degree angle face here, because it's a little bit different than what we've done so far. So before I get going, I am going to make a couple of comments here because, I posted a little video clip on Facebook and Instagram of me grinding over here, and anytime I want to find out how I'm doing something wrong, all I got to do is post something on Facebook or Instagram or even YouTube, and you guys will tell me everything I'm doing wrong. In fact, it's a wonder I've ever done anything that worked, according to some of the comments that are out there. But I do want to comment about the air hose because, I think that was a valid comment. People say, oh, you should never use an air hose on a surface grinder. I'd have been fired if I'd have had an air hose over there on my surface grinder. Yes, I've got an air hose here, guys. I'm not using it on a surface grinder. When I get the part off the surface grinder, I'm coming over here and blowing all the coolant off of it before I set it down so that my parts don't rust. Yeah, and I'm also wiping them down with some WD-40 and some other things to keep the flash rust off of them. But the purpose of the air hose isn't to come over here and blast on the machine. It's to blow all the coolant and water and everything else off of these and try to get them as dry as possible before I stack them up over there. So, air hose. Don't use it on the machine, use it on the part. Get over it. So to do the 45s, what I've got here are some angle blocks. And these, again, I talked about these before. These are what they call transfer blocks. These are made up of strips of steel with a non-magnetic material in there. These happen to have brass in them. I've seen them with aluminum as well. But with the strips, basically, again, the magnetic flux from the table will come up through this. And so you basically, it's like magging it down to the surface plate. It's a cool little feature. So what I do, let me grab a straight edge. Is we just take this and we'll just take this, we'll put our straight edge down into the 45-degree angle blocks, and then I will turn on the magnetic chuck, and now basically I've got a flat surface here that's at 45 degrees that I can grind. Now I'm not going to let the head go in and out. I'm going to control that manually. In fact, we'll probably just come in here and go back and forth and really not even have the stone going back and forth at all. That way I don't risk coming over and running into the back here. I've done this many times on other straight edges. It works really well, and it gets this job done for me pretty quickly. All right, let's see if we can get these done. Well, ain't nothing ever easy. I came in this morning. Yesterday I was working, the machine was working great. Today I come in and I noticed that when I turn my magnet on, my magnet's not working. I think there's something wrong with my controller down here. I've checked my power. I've got power coming to it. I'm not sure what's going on, so let me take the cover off, get an electrical meter, and start figuring out what's going on there. All right, let's take this cover off. I do have it. The power is on at the moment because I'm going to check my power once I get this open. Make sure I've got power coming to it. I'll just take my meter, see what's going on. This is a little mag chuck energizer. It's basically a rectifier. It converts alternating current to direct current. Of course, I dropped that screw and I don't see where it went. It has an adjustment down here on the bottom where you can adjust the strength, how much flux you're generating, so you can adjust the magnet on how much it's doing. And I think I see the problem. I think we got a blown fuse right there. Yep, that fuse, I can see the burn mark in it. So I'm going to unplug this, we'll pull the fuse out, and I'm gonna have to go find another fuse. I don't think I've got any fuses like that laying around here. I will check it out though. All right, I did unplug it. I've got a meter here, and I'm just looking for continuity. So right now, whenever you touch these leads, you get a tone. I'm just going to check across this fuse. No tone, so we got a bad fuse. All right, that confirms that. Let me pull that fuse out. All right, yeah, that one's blown. All right, I see where it says 250 volts. Let me go get under a magnifying glass. This is really hard. I will note, guys, that when I came in this morning, I realized that this thing had been left on all night long, so I'm sure it just got hot and started drawing too many amps and blew the fuse. At least that's what I'm hoping. I'm going to go put this under a magnifying glass, see if I can figure out. There's some writing on there. I just can't. I don't have good light here. Well, I had that flashlight just a minute ago. What did I do with it? So it says bus AGC3. So it looks like a 3 amp fuse rated for 250 volts. All right, I'm gonna have to run to town. I don't have one of these, so let me go find one and we'll get this thing hopefully fixed and back up and running. And there's my missing screw. Trip to town later, got a new fuse here. Put that in there. Let me go turn the power back onto this thing. The magnet is on. Huh. So that is on, and my mag chuck is back down. We're going to call this fixed for now. Don't know why that blew, but yeah, sometimes those things just happen. I'll button that back up and we'll be back to work. All right, let me get this reset up again. I had to pull that out when I was fiddling with the magnet. So let me get this kind of set back up where it's nice and straight. And turn my mag on. Felt that pull down when I did that. All right, I think we're good. I've got my wheel set up here where I can control it by hand. I should still have a good dress on that wheel. I just dressed it yesterday. Be good right there. Let me fire everything up. Check my stroke. I'm going to extend that out just a little bit. A bit longer stroke, but I like that. Starting to make contact there. Seeing about where I'm at so I can tell how far I have to go down. cleaned up all the way across. And it took about 10 thousandths. And a lot of that was just because it was hitting on this side before it was hitting on this side, which has more to do with how parallel that side was with the back. But that's irrelevant. There's nothing to do with that as far as being important. We just need a good flat surface across there. So I'm going to let that just go until it kind of sparks out. But that one is pretty well done. We'll stop our spindle here. Release the magnet. Pull this one out. Put in number 2 here. Mag that down. Raise my stone up just a little bit. Almost cleaned up. That's it. All right, we'll let that spark out a few times and continue on, guys. You see the process. Well, I'm back down here with this choker again. I got 3 of the 45s ground out, and I went to click on the mag chuck on the 4th one and it wouldn't work again. I came in here and checked the fuse. The fuse is fine, but it's just, there's something, I don't know, there's something wrong with it. So I'm kind of stuck here now until I get this fixed. So let me tell you what my game plan is. I have ordered a new magnetic controller. I just bought one of the Chinese ones. I'm not a big fan of that, but you know, fairly inexpensive. About 150 bucks, you can get a new one. And I'm going to go ahead and anyway, I got that ordered. It's on its way. Hopefully, be here in a couple of days. I can put it on here and finish this job. In the meantime, I think what I'm going to do is take this one off. And I've got a friend of mine who likes working with this old electrical stuff. I'm going to send it to him and let him troubleshoot it and see if it's something that he can fix. If so, I'd probably put this one back on. I mean, those ones that are made today, they're cheap, they're flimsy, they're in a plastic enclosure. This is old school, heavy duty. When it works, they work well. And I would rather have this on this old vintage machine if I can get it up and going. So anyway, I'm going to send it off to him. If I got to find out if he's willing to look at it and do it first, but I think he will. But anyway, that's kind of my game plan. In the meantime, I'm dead in the water on this project. I looked around the shop. I used to have, on my old surface grinder, I just put a 120 volt rectifier in there that basically converted 120 volt AC to 120 volt DC and had it on a switch that I could turn it on, off, and it would just turn the mag chuck on. And it worked just fine. It didn't have the variable. This one here, you got a thing down the bottom that you can control the voltage and basically go from 0 volts to 90. It says 90 on here. I guess that's percent, I don't know. But basically it goes between 0 and 120 volts. So you can vary the magnetic force that's pulling down on there. If you're working on something thin and don't want it to suck it down to the plate, you can go in here with a little bit lighter force. What I'm doing right now, honestly, I mean, you just about want 100%. You just want it to stick to the magnetic chuck as well as you can. So, you know, a bridge rectifier would get the job done. It wouldn't have the nice feature of the variable thing. Anyway, I had one on it. I thought I had one over in a drawer that I could just put on here temporarily and at least get this job done, but I apparently don't have one. I thought I did, but I don't. I've made a couple of phone calls to electrical places here in town. Nobody has one locally. So anyway, I'm going to have to order something one way or the other, so I just went ahead and ordered a replacement on here, and like I said, we'll put it on and go. Hopefully, it'll get in before the scraping class and I can finish grinding these 45s. If not, no big deal. We can still scrape them. They just won't be as flat. And that will just take a little bit more time scraping, but hey, it's a scraping class. Practice makes perfect. So, not the end of the world. I really debated on whether to grind these at all for the scraping class, to be honest with you, because, you want to practice. You want to get the opportunity to do some things. But at the end of the day, grinding is a good step before scraping because you go ahead and get things really close to being right where they need to be, and you can usually dial them in pretty quickly. Ideally, anytime you're rebuilding a machine or something, if you can get it reground first, it just saves you a lot of trouble when you start the scraping, but it's not a necessity. It's not something you have to do. So anyway, we may just have to scrape those in off of the direct milling. I noticed on the 3 that I did that they were all pretty flat. I mean, I had some alignment issues where it was grinding a little bit heavier on one side than the other. But I think the most I took out of any of those 3 was about 10 thousandths. And I think that if you had had that plain flat, probably only would have been a couple of thousandths to get it flat, which is in the realm of what you can scrape out. Well, 10 thousandths is too. Although I don't think it would take 10 thousandths to get it flat because, again, it wasn't the way we started. It was grinding heavier on one side than the other. Anyway, it is what it is. That's where I'm at. We're going to stop here. That's going to pretty much be a wrap on this video because I just can't go any farther today. So with that is a wrap. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Those thumbs up and comments are always greatly appreciated. Hit that bell icon up there to get notifications when new videos are posted. As always, a huge thank you to those who support the site financially through Patreon, PayPal, and YouTube memberships. Great way to help support things around here. We greatly appreciate those that do. And with that, I'm going to sign off and get out of here. We'll catch you on the next video again. As always, thanks for watching.